Good morning. Welcome to the Mayor's Weekly News Conference. This week's agenda is an announcement of a food truck row pilot project, an announcement and explanation of the upcoming Juneteenth celebration, a look at Global Refugee Awareness Month and upcoming local events, a welcoming Erie opportunity, and an explanation of Ramadan and Eid al-Fitr. Mayor?
Thank you, Renee. Good morning, everyone. It's another beautiful day in Erie, Pennsylvania. Today we're going to focus on two elements of our vision for the city of Erie. One is creating a world-class downtown and bayfront, and the second is celebrating our diversity and our diverse cultures that we're fortunate to have here. But first, we're excited to announce the launch of a food truck row pilot project. For those of you who work downtown, you may have noticed an increasing number of food trucks and vendors serving the downtown area during the lunch hour. In order to support these vendors, bring some consistency and awareness to the offerings, and test some new ideas, we have engaged in a partnership with the Perry Square Alliance, the Erie Downtown Development Corp., Erie Arts and Culture, and the Erie Food Truck Alliance. There are about 20 food truck vendors and carts who have a permit to operate in the downtown on a first-come, first-served basis. And I want to thank Dave Rocco. I think Dave is here, right over there. Dave, thank you for the great work you're doing in organizing all this. Really appreciate that. Here are the next 4 steps that we're going to take to support the food truck vendors in Perry Square and move us closer to a world-class downtown. First, for the week of July 18th, next week, from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., Monday through Friday, there'll be our Public Works Department is designating the parking spaces on State Street right behind me between North and South Park Rows as no parking. This will allow vendors to get up early enough to be able to serve their lunches. And I want to thank Ray Massing from the Parking Authority also for being on board and supporting us in this effort. Vendors have been encouraged to bring their own, this is the second item, vendors have been encouraged to bring their own portable bistro tables and chairs to provide some seating during the time that they are open. Third, the seating tables provided by the vendors, we've asked that they be placed on the grass or on the sidewalk as close to the grass as possible. There has to be an 8-foot path at least between the chairs and the curb. So we want to maintain that so at least 2 wheelchairs can pass. And fourth, to add to the upcoming lunchtime atmosphere, and this is kind of exciting, the city's arranged for music and entertainment every day during the lunch hour. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, there'll be music in the park. On Thursday, there'll be the midday dance break that we'll talk about a little bit later. I'd now like to welcome Adam Williams to the microphone. He's the owner of the Big Cheese Food Truck. He's also coordinator of the Food Truck Alliance. He's going to come up and share his thoughts on this initiative. Adam?
I don't know if during any of the musical performances the mayor's going to take any requests to perform any songs, but barring that, I think it's still going to be a pretty exciting week next week. My partner and I started a food truck a couple of months ago. We both have other full-time jobs and ventures going on, and we thought this would be a fun project. And I think our timing was pretty good because the food truck trend has finally caught on in Erie. It's something that's developed everywhere else across the country. People see the benefits of having vendors like this available in their city. The idea of Food Truck Row, I think, was developed actually independently among a bunch of different people and a bunch of different organizations in Erie. And I thank the city for getting us all together in the same room at the same table to actually make this a reality. I think we met about this a week and a half ago officially, and here we are. So that moved pretty quickly. And starting next week, typically you'd come down, you may see 4, 5, 6 food trucks. We've worked with the Erie Food Truck Alliance, which at this point isn't much more than a Facebook group. But our goal is to get 10 to 15 trucks down here every day. It's going to be a rotation of different trucks every single day. And we're pretty excited, not only about what that's going to do for people who live and work in downtown Erie, but also the owners and the employees of the trucks. So we're really excited about this. It's something that sort of happened naturally with the trucks coming down here, but to have so many other groups, and especially the city, supporting this, we're very, very excited about it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you for all you're doing. We're really looking forward to this pilot. We're going to sit down with all of our partners in the near future after the week is done and talk about how it worked and what we should do as next steps. Stay tuned to the city's Facebook page next week. We'll be passing along updates on the music, what's going on there, and all the vendors that will be downtown each day. Now, our second topic for today is we'd like to provide an overview of Juneteenth and the upcoming celebration related to that. Juneteenth, of course, is short for June 19th. It's a holiday commemorating the day that marked the effective end of slavery in the United States. On June 19th, 1865, 2 months after the surrender of Confederate General Robert E. Lee at the Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia, Union General Gordon Granger and approximately 1,800 federal troops arrived in Galveston, Texas. They took control of the state to enforce the Emancipation Proclamation. Granger read a General Order Number 3, which declared, "The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation of the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free." More than 2 years before Granger's announcement, President Abraham Lincoln had issued the Emancipation Proclamation. That was January 1st, 1863, declaring all enslaved people in the Confederate States, which were in rebellion against the Union at the time, shall be thenceforth and forever free. In Texas, slavery was relatively unaffected because the state experienced no large-scale fighting. There was no significant presence of Union troops in Texas at that time. So many slave owners actually came from outside Texas, moved to the Lone Star State. They felt it was a safe haven. They took their slaves with them there. After the war came to a close in the spring of 1865, General Granger arrived in Galveston, and that June signaled the freedom in Texas of 250,000 slaves. The celebrations broke out among newly freed blacks, and Juneteenth was born. That December, slavery in America was officially abolished by the adoption of the 13th Amendment. In the ensuing decades, Juneteenth commemorations featured music, barbecues, prayer services, and other activities. And as blacks migrated from Texas to other parts of the country, the Juneteenth celebration spread. In 1979, Texas became the first state to make Juneteenth an official holiday, and today, most states observe the Juneteenth celebrations. This is the 6th year that Juneteenth has been celebrated at the Booker T. Washington Center here in Erie. This Saturday, coming up, June 16th, festivities begin at 1 p.m. at the Booker T. Washington Center. The celebration of culture and freedom, featuring food, live music, a kids zone, big giveaways, local vendors, community information, and resources. This family-friendly event is free and open to all. I encourage the public to attend. The theme for this year's celebration is education, empowerment, and engagement. In our efforts to build opportunity, restore hope, and transform Erie, we fully support this event and future events designed to help our residents realize their full potential and prosperity. Angela McNair is here with us today and will provide further information in interviews at the end here. And we call on you can also look at the Juneteenth celebration event page on Facebook. In addition to the activities at the Booker T. Washington Center, St. James AME Church will also have a Juneteenth reception on June 19th from 5 to 7, a roundtable discussion on Wednesday, June the 20th, a health fair on Thursday, June the 21st from 3 to 6 p.m., and a concert on Friday, June 22nd at 7 p.m. There will also be a 3-day seminar from June 19th to the 21st from 7 to 9 p.m. with Reverend Gina Thornton speaking. You can find information on Facebook at St. James AME of Erie, PA. Here with us today to answer any additional questions also are Yolanda Schneider and Fred Rush. They're out there in the crowd somewhere, I know. So our third announcement for today, as we continue to celebrate Erie's diversity, which remember is one of our main values, we want to draw attention to World Refugee Awareness Month and upcoming local events related to World Refugee Day. June was the first declared a World Refugee Awareness Month in 2001. The World Refugee Day 2018 is on June 20th, so that's next Wednesday. This is an annual event held on the same day each year, and 2018 is the 18th year that this event's been celebrated. Since June 2001, June has been a time of acknowledging the strength, courage, and perseverance of millions of refugees around the globe. Refugee children and their families must deal with not just past traumatic experiences, but also integrating into a new and unfamiliar society. They must look for safety in an unknown culture and ask for help in a non-native language. These children, families have experienced war-related trauma and disruption, as well as resettlement, poverty, unemployment, stigmatization, and bias. Refugees are vulnerable and in need and are often misunderstood and maligned. Having to flee their homes because of conflict and natural disaster, they often must leave their homes with little or nothing. Many times, they have only the clothes on their back and what they're able to carry in their arms. They suffer from cold, hunger, trauma, despair, disease, violence, and loss. World Refugee Day seeks to increase the support for refugees, raise awareness of their plight, and encourage people to take responsibility as global citizens. Across the world, agencies, both governmental and non-governmental, work tirelessly to help our refugees. These agencies help us to ensure that refugees are treated fairly and provided for. We have three such agencies here with us today: the International Institute, Catholic Charities, and the Multicultural Community Resource Center. First, I'd like to bring up Paul Jericho from the Multicultural Community Resource Center to say a few words. Paul?
Good morning, everyone. World Refugee Day, as the mayor said, is a way to show the plight of refugees around the world. So I wanted to give you a little bit of facts about that. Currently, there are 65 million displaced individuals around the world. 22.5 of these are refugees. 50% of the refugees are children. People think that it's always adults. Over 50% of them are children, and less than 50% of these individuals are able to attend school. There are 26 countries that accept refugees. People think that only the United States accepts refugees, but there's 26 other countries that accept refugees. In 2016, the United States resettled about 85,000 refugees. This year, they'll resettle probably around 20,000. Erie when I came to Erie, I'm not originally from Erie, but when I first came to Erie, I noticed that they had a lot of different ethnic communities. You had the Polish section, you had the Little Italy, you had different parts around Little Russia. And so now that refugees are coming in, Erie has a long history of refugees coming here. In 2016, Erie resettled 793 refugees. In 2017, 455. And this year so far, only 123. So obviously the numbers are being reduced. The only growth in Erie's population over the last 20 years really have been refugees, immigrants, and the Hispanic population. Now there's many myths going on about refugees. Now refugees obviously have been reduced because of safety. They say for homeland security. But the truth is that refugees are the most vetted individuals that enter this country. It takes 2 to 6 years. There's 21 steps that they are vetted, and it's a long process. And it's a process that is. I was in Guam when they were vetting people to come from Kurdistan. And there were individuals that they could not properly vet, so they actually sent them to Las Vegas and put them in jail until they could properly vet them. So the reduced numbers of refugees coming to Erie is having an economic impact. We have landlords that are calling us because There's a lot of apartments available. We also know that companies are calling us that they're unable to fill positions because of the lower numbers of people. Some of the common myths about refugees is they don't pay taxes. And they immediately pay state, local, and federal taxes. That's a myth. There's a myth going on in social media that refugees get everything. The truth is, even their plane ticket, when they arrive to the United States, they have to start paying back their plane ticket 6 months after they get here. And some of these families, if they have 8 or 10 people, owe thousands of dollars, which they make monthly payments on those. One of them is that the refugees want to come here. The truth is that refugees are forced to leave their country. So if they're forced to leave their country, they would surely go back if their country was safe. They come here because and every refugee must prove persecution. One of the things is all refugees are Muslim. Refugees are all religions. There's no discrimination on that part. The refugees are a drain on society. 85% of refugees adults are working within the first 180 days in the United States. Erie's a good community for refugees, and you say, why? Why Erie? Refugees, for the most part, start wherever they're resettled or starts in the poorest section of the city. And truthfully, the sections of Erie are safer than most of the big cities. They also we have many entry-level jobs here. And the third most important thing is that we have upward mobility. People are able to even buy houses. Many refugees buy houses in less than 5 years. So the one thing I want to say is that Erie is good for refugees, and refugees are good for Erie. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I couldn't agree more. Refugees are good for Erie. And Erie, we want to make Erie great for refugees, a great place. To commemorate this day, there are a number of events being held on June 19th and 20th next week. On Tuesday, June 19th from 6 to 8 p.m., the celebration begins with Ben Turman and his Monsters to Destroy, or M2D, presentation at Luminary Distillery. Monsters to Destroy is an engaging 45-minute presentation with humanizing and often humorous interviews with 5 Syrian refugees. Ben began work on this in January of 2017 as part of his bachelor's research project on the national security and impact of refugees. As a New Yorker and descendant of refugees himself, he developed a better understanding of the refugee crisis and the war on terror. For the 5th year in a row, on June 20th from 12 to 1 p.m. at the Erie Art Museum, the Highmark Midday Art Break will feature a lineup of performers who came to Erie as refugees. The event is free and open to the public. The second annual dinner at Habibi on June 20th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Tickets include all-you-can-eat a Middle Eastern food, hookah, henna, music, and good company. To tell us more, I'd like to have Delana Jackson from the International Institute come up and say a few words. Delana?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out. So I just kind of want to start off with saying thank you so much for the support that you show refugees in the Erie community. The U.S. Resettlement Program takes your support as well as local agencies to make this happen. So Erie would not have the diversity if it weren't for folks like you. So thank you. As the mayor said, we're hosting a series of events next week, and be happy to talk to you more after the press conference if you're interested. Refugees come to Erie, as Paul mentioned as well, fleeing their home, and they do make Erie their new home. They are your neighbors, they're parents in the schools, they are taxpayers and people you go to work with. So I really encourage you to take some time next week, stop out to one of our events, and celebrate the diversity that refugees bring to Erie. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Delana. You know, I'd be willing to bet that every one of us in the park this morning is a descendant of immigrants and refugees. You know that. So sometimes we tend to forget that after a couple of generations, but we need to be welcoming to the immigrants and bring them here. Delana, thank you very much. I really look forward to next week. If you want tickets or additional details, please contact the International Institute. Next, I'd like to introduce Nika Nastari Carpenter, who I'm extremely proud of. She's the first ever city liaison to the New American Community. She's also the Governor's Advisory Commissioner on the Asian Pacific American Affairs. She recently received 2 scholarships to attend a Welcoming America conference in Louisville, Kentucky. Nika will be taking part in several seminars next week to bring back ideas about how we can be more welcoming here in Erie. I'd like to ask Nika to come up and tell us a little bit about the conference. Nika.
I'm sorry. I'm very excited for the opportunity to go to this conference, and I'm planning to learn on how we can be a more welcoming city. And part of the session that I'm going to attend is welcoming economies, addressing hate, and how to be a certified welcoming city. What's the benefit of being a welcoming city? And communication coaching. I'm really looking forward to networking with representatives from other communities that are farther along than we are right now. I want to learn from their success story. Thank you.
Thank you, Nika. We're going to have Yolanda and Angela come up and say a few words about their events as well here. So thank you very much, Nika. You come on up. Come on up. Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Yolanda Snyder, First Lady at St. James AME Church, and we are celebrating throughout the week, the 19th through the 24th. As the mayor he gave you all the dates and the time, so thank you, Mayor. We would just like to push our concert on Friday is Pork Chop and the Fellas, and they are coming from South Carolina. Gospel music, it is definitely a show worth coming to. You'll enjoy yourself. And then on Sunday, we are culminating with a concert with the Cathedral of St. Paul right down the street here. We're going to do a concert with them, our choir, and we're going to sing Negro spirituals as a closeout to our Juneteenth celebration. So come out. If you need any more information, please call the church, 814-456-4011, and we'll be glad to give you more information. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Angela McNair. I am the committee chairwoman for the Juneteenth celebration of Erie. We've been doing Juneteenth for the last 5 years in conjunction with the Booker T. Washington Center. I greatly appreciate the mayor giving that wonderful explanation of Juneteenth. Juneteenth is, like he said, the Independence Day, the Freedom Day, the celebration of the African American community. It's our time to celebrate our freedom, and that's exactly what we do across the country, is celebrate. Actually, across the world, we celebrate Juneteenth as our day of freedom. It's a day of jubilee. It's a day of excitement. It's our Independence Day, and this weekend we will be celebrating Juneteenth at the Booker T. Washington Center. On Friday, we will be having a fundraiser, all-white celebration to raise funds for the Booker T. Washington Center. And then on Saturday, June 16th, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Booker T. Washington Center at 1720 Holland Street, we will have our actual day of celebration. At this time, we will have vendors, performances, informational booths from the minority community. The admission is free. It is an all-age event, so families are welcome. We will be featuring the Breeze Band, which is one of the most popular bands around the city of Erie. And we will have a live DJ. We will have free food. We're going to be giving away bikes to the kids. We'll have prizes all day long for the whole family. We're just hoping that everyone come out and support our day of celebration, our day of Jubilee, to celebrate our freedom. And if you would like to volunteer, if you would like more information, please contact myself or any of the team members at 920-3544, and we hope to see you there to celebrate with us on this day of Jubilee.
Thank you, Angela and Yolanda. Appreciate that. Finally, I just want to thank Bunyamin Aysan and the board members and volunteers from the Turkish Cultural Center. They shared an iftar dinner with us and my staff and I and several people from City Hall on Tuesday evening to celebrate Ramadan. Ramadan is a holy month of fasting, introspection, prayer, and increased generosity. Fasting is one of the 5 fundamental principles of Islam, along with testimony of faith, prayer, charitable giving, and making a pilgrimage to Mecca. As Muslims are required to take part every year, though there are special exceptions, for instance, for children, for the elderly, for those who are ill, pregnant, nursing, or traveling. It's not easy, though, not to eat from about 4 in the morning till about 9 at night. And not only are you not allowed to eat, you can't even drink anything. You can't drink water. Muslims are supposed to try to curb negative thoughts and emotions like jealousy and anger, and behaviors like swearing, complaining, and gossiping. That's something that'd be good for all of us. The practice of fasting serves to show what it feels like to be hungry and thirsty in order to feel more compassion for the poor and needy and to reduce the distractions in our life. Because of the length of the day is longer here in the summer, as I mentioned earlier, Muslims are fasting here in Erie from around 4 a.m. till about 9 p.m. At sundown every day, Muslims break their daily fast by sharing a meal with family, friends, which is called iftar. And we've been to several iftar celebrations around Erie, my staff and I, and they're very uplifting celebrations. In fact, during the past month, we were honored to join celebrations with the Turks, the Bosnians, and other Muslim communities. As Ramadan comes close to a close, I'd like to wish all our Muslim friends Eid Mubarak. In English, that means happy holiday. And that concludes our press conference for today. I just recommend all of you, before you go back to your offices, go to the food trucks behind me and get something good to take to eat with you. All of us who spoke will be available for one-on-one interviews going forward. Thanks very much for being here.